dramatic events in Cape Town. Well, let's cross the Atlantic and go to New York, where a new Secretary General of the United Nations seems to have been announced. Let's cross now live to Sherwin Brycepeace, who's monitoring the story. Sherwin, it's a big story. Do we have a new UN Secretary General?
Peter, for all intents and purposes, I would say yes, we do. In dramatic scenes, I mean, as dramatic as 15 diplomats walking out of the Security Council and converging on the microphone at the stakeout. I mean, we were all surprised to see them all emerge, and then offer the announcement that there was a unanimous decision in the latest straw poll that indicated that former Portuguese Prime Minister and the former High Commissioner for Refugees, Antonio Guterres, who essentially has been a frontrunner throughout this process, throughout the entire straw poll process, that he will be confirmed, hopefully by a consensus vote in the Security Council tomorrow. The straw poll, the latest results from the straw poll that we have, is that Antonio Guterres received 13 encourage votes. He received no vetoes and 2 no opinions expressed. So that's out of the 15 members of the council. And crucially, in the 6th straw poll that was just held today, for the first time they introduced coloured ballots to indicate who the permanent 5 members were. Of course, they have the power through that veto to block any candidate. He crucially received no veto votes. And we're assuming, based on the announcement here, we still don't have the numbers, Peter, but we're assuming based on those numbers that every other candidate still in this race received a veto, and he did not. So we will have a formal vote 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, that's around 4 p.m. South African time, to confirm Antonio Guterres, but then the process is still not complete. That nomination from the Security Council then goes to the UN General Assembly for them to then confirm that selection by the UN Security Council. So there's still a process to go here to formally make an announcement that Antonio Guterres is the next Secretary General. But as far as I'm concerned, this is now a fait accompli. He looks a shoe-in to replace Ban Ki-moon come January 1st, 2017.
All right, Sherwin, as you were saying that he's been a front runner for some time now, do we have any idea why he's been such a popular choice?
Well, for the first time in this process, Peter, you had a more transparent look at who the candidates were. We knew beforehand who was in the running. In the past, you essentially had closed-door maneuverings, diplomatic behind-the-scenes efforts to select a Secretary General, and then suddenly a name would appear and would be presented to the General Assembly, who would essentially just then endorse the Security Council's decision. In this process, you had the General Assembly was given the opportunity to interview the candidates in an open process. It was broadcast live. We have been reporting on that process. In fact, just on Monday, the latest candidate, Bulgaria's Kristalina Georgieva, was the latest addition. She had her informal dialogue with the UN General Assembly just on Monday. I mean, she must be feeling that this has been a complete waste of time, because now we have a new Secretary General, and she just showed up in New York on Monday. So clearly there was a front runner from that informal dialogue process. I mean, the journalists, diplomats were all saying that they were very impressed by the performance put in by Antonio Guterres. Al Jazeera, our colleagues at Al Jazeera hosted a live debate here at the United Nations where all the candidates were on show. He was a standout. He speaks fluent Portuguese, he speaks French, he speaks English. He was able to speak Spanish. He's able to converge in most of the official languages of the UN. And of course, he has a lot of UN experience, not only being a former Portuguese Prime Minister, he is also the former High Commissioner for Refugees. And what's one of the biggest topics that we talk about at the United Nations today, Peter? The migration and the refugee crisis. He knows what he's doing, he understands the UN system, and was a clear front runner from the beginning.
All right, Sherwin, we'll leave it there for the time being. So that's Sherwin Brycepeace in New York giving us an update. The United Nations has a new boss, bar the formal appointment of Mr. Guterres. We'll have that story as it unfolds in the next day or so.